Hey everyone, welcome back to Workshop Quick Takes. Today I've got a bit of unexpected maintenance on my power steering pump, and it involves the pulley, strangely enough. The pulley is friction fit onto the shaft of the pump here, so that's going to have to be removed. We're going to have to remove the electric fan first and also get this coolant reservoir overflow line out of the way. We're pulling a pair of 8mm bolts in order to get the E-fan, and then also we'll be pulling a third one over here in order to remove the coolant reservoir overflow, because this is where I've got it tied down. Shouldn't need to remove that hose, we can just push it out of the way there. We do need to get the electric fan unplugged down here. And then this just comes straight out. Now I have a somewhat better view of the work area. I got some damage right there. There's a big chip that's formed out of that, and I can see a stress crack and some more marks possibly up there where it's going to continue going. Now, I posted pictures of this on a forum, and somebody immediately replied, oh yeah, mine's looked like that for a long time, nothing that bad's going on, but I don't want that to go out while I'm on the trail, so we're going to replace it. This is Dorman number 300-310, that's 300-310. So you can get this pretty cheap online, but even if you decide to go to a parts store like I did, it was only like maybe 20 bucks. And here it is. Already pulled it out of the bag. It's got a little instruction guide in it, but this is a friction fit, so I'm going to need a pulley removal tool. I'm hoping this 3-jaw tool can get in there. I'm not sure how well it'll actually fit next to the radiator. Nope, let's stop right here. This won't work. There is a special service toolkit for this job, and every parts store has a couple in the Loaner Tools collection. Nothing else will reliably remove the pulley without damaging the pump, and reinstalling will be troublesome also. Just get the toolkit so that a $20 pulley replacement doesn't turn into a $150 pump and pulley replacement. Okay, next up we have to remove the tension on the belt. This is a normal threaded bolt. And I may actually turn over the engine rather than turning over the bolt, but we'll see. Good. Okay, that there's plenty. Next thing we have to do is loosen that bolt right there and just draw it out. And in order to do that, I am going to go ahead and unclip the temperature sensor so that I can work around it more easily. I just need to remember not to leave that unplugged. Okay. Oh yeah, that's not going to give us any trouble. So we loosen it by turning left. Okay, the belt's definitely gone slack. At this point, pay attention to your belt routing. If you're not familiar with that, you're going to want to look up a diagram online first, or you're going to want to make sure you still have the sticker on top of your engine bay that shows it. I do not. Not quite loose. Okay, that's a little more like it. And I am going to try just tucking that back in here for the moment. Okay, we now have access to the pump wheel. It's just going to be a question of how we get it off of there. If you're going to do this once, just do the parts store rental. And if you're going to do it twice or more, just increase your Harbor Freight tool collection. This was 35 bucks and it's going to be worth it again at some point. If you haven't used this kit before, here's how it's going to work for us today. Initially, we need this 3-piece contraption here, because that is going to go on there like that. And then this retaining collar will hold it in place. But before we do that, we need this here, which is actually going to go in there. And keep in mind at this point, all of this is still installed on the pump. And finally, we need the main pulling and pressing piece along with the pulling pin, which just snaps into there for now. This then is going to screw into here. And once it hits that point there, where the shaft is flush with the outside edge, we're going to start building tension as we turn that further. At this point, we can hold this piece and start turning this one to the left to drive it out. Or we can hold on to this one and start turning this one to drive it in. We can even turn both of them at the same time, and we get this. That will press the pulley off of the shaft. And once we reach this point here, it should all just drop loose. At that point, we now need to remove all of this apparatus. We'll be done using these 3 pieces. We'll also be done using the pulling pin, but we will save these 2 for the next step. Bigger than 25 even. That's special. Huh. Okay, well, I don't know what size wrench that is, but it's bigger than my largest one. So I'm just going to hold it with the channel locks and then use a 13 over here to turn this one instead. I was hoping to hold it on the end and turn that bolt, but I don't think that's going to happen. So in a minute, this should start really tightening up. Okay, it is. I also see the pulley starting to come off. So I think that part's working. Okay, we got some real tension on there now. I'm hoping this just slides off gracefully and doesn't just fly off at once, but you never know. Boring. Whew. And there it is. No weeping out the shaft seal, so front end's still good. But we will save these two for the next step, and to them we are going to add this washer so that we have something to spin against. We don't need this bearing assembly today. Although if you do use the bearing as suggested by the instructions here, it might make the assembly somewhat easier to turn. But on this pulley you can get away without it. And we do need one of these four pieces depending on what the threading is inside our pump and how deep it is. As it happens today, this one will work fine. That is going to screw into there like that. The short end goes into the what is now the pressing pin, and this will thread into the power steering pump shaft. So what's going to happen is we have to remove this gadgetry here, screw this into the power steering pump shaft firmly. It is now in, and we will slide the new pulley this way, keeping in mind that this little flange lip here is the side that is out or front. Sometimes it's labeled, it's not on this one, it is on the new one. We'll put that there so that this has something to turn against, so that it can spin a little better. You could even spray a little WD-40 down in there if you want to lube things up a bit so that this goes a little faster. And we're now here. And initially we're going to be starting right there because we've driven this all the way into the end of the shaft and we're just starting to press this on. As we turn this, it's going to want to turn the whole wheel. And if we hold on to this with the wrench and try to do that, well, it's still going to just unscrew it. So what we have to do instead is hold the pulley somehow while we continue to turn this. Probably going to reinstall the belt so that it actually holds the pulley in place for us, and then we'll still have to support it, but at that point we should be able to continue turning it. Until finally we hit the end. What's going to happen is we'll get to this point here, and at this point it will stall. It cannot go any deeper than this, and this will now be flush with the shaft of the power steering pump. Now we just need to take these off one piece at a time, and since we'll now be able to see this like that, we just have to use the appropriate wrenches to get both of these out. At that point the job should be done. Now just to make sure everything's sealed correctly, let's go ahead and just install this bear. And then this, if it's working correctly, should stop when the flange. Yep. So I can't overdrive it. Okay. Now we go through that whole process in reverse. At this point, I think I'm going to try and loop the belt back over there and tighten it up a bit because I'm having trouble holding the pulley with enough force to make that work. Okay. That might be it. Yep. Wow. Now we just need to Disconnect this. Since it's press fit on, it's not going to pop back off on us. Whew. That was worth every penny. Now, technically I've already reinstalled the belt, but I believe that's probably a little too tight, so I'm going to loosen that slightly. For whatever reason, these XJ belts are pretty tight, but anytime you over tighten, you start destroying bearings on things. If we need to, you can come back and adjust it, but I think we're good. If I start turning the engine over, then we're definitely good. Actually, no, I won't, because it's bolted through a bearing. Yeah. Okay, make sure we plug back in the coolant temperature sensor that we got out of the way there earlier. A little water fell in there while we were working, of course, but doesn't hurt to look. And then this has two tabs that catch down on the bottom of the radiator. And finally, coolant overflow line. Okay. Last step, as always, test start it. Make sure everything's spinning there, nothing bad's happening. That pulley's on nice and tight, and I can see now that I've got the tool out that it's exactly flush the way it's supposed to be. Put my fan back in. Forgot one thing. Okay. It's plugged in, so hopefully that's good now. Start by turning it over for a second, but not actually starting it. Looks like everything turned. Okay, looked to me like that was spinning without a wobble, so we're done here. As always, another day, another broken part on the XJ, but it's fixed now. Hopefully that gives you some inspiration for things you might be able to do at home in order to fix your vehicle. Apart from the specialty toolkit, it was all basic tools and elbow grease, but boy, that channel locks was kind of a poor substitute for a very large wrench.
You own at least 3 of these.
But that's all we got for now, so thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time, whenever that is.
Has anyone seen my phone?